Have you ever wondered what happens when a Hollywood star finally pulls back the curtain on the men behind the scenes, and it's not pretty? When one of the most visible actresses in the world says something we all kinda suspected but nobody wanted to admit, you sit up and listen. That's exactly what happened with Megan Fox when she dropped a bombshell statement about men in Hollywood and how their behavior has shaped her career, her life, and the industry at large. Let's dive in. She came up fast. Megan Fox exploded onto the scene in the mid 2000s thanks to big budget blockbuster roles. She was the it girl, the sex symbol, the face you couldn't ignore. But behind that glam surface was a young woman being molded and often exploited by the system. While everyone saw the red carpets and the magazine covers, Megan was experiencing something very different. From early on, she sensed the same patterns: men in power messaging that her body mattered more than her voice, a culture of yes, you'll look this way, you'll behave this way, and if you don't, well, you won't last. She has since said that by the time she was still very young, she already knew how the game was played, and she didn't like it. One of the most telling moments came when she reflected on her work on the film Bad Boys I when she was just 15 years old. She told how she was placed in a scene under a waterfall in a bikini, drenched, while still a minor. That's not just a fun photo shoot. It's a signal. She observed it. She felt it. And she later said it was an early indicator of how little her comfort or autonomy mattered. That moment wasn't isolated. It echoed throughout her early career. A nod, a smile, a bikini shot, small parts of a much larger machine. Then she got cast in Transformers, and from that point on the spotlight intensified. She became the face of a major franchise. The girl on the Camaro image forever tagged to her name. But the glamour came with a cost. That image defined her in a way she couldn't escape. She admitted later she felt objectified, reduced, boxed in. It wasn't just one scene or one film. It was every project, every meeting, every photo shoot. She admitted to hitting a genuine psychological breaking point. She said, "It wasn't just that movie, it was every day of my life. All the time I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to have to take a photo." She described it as the moment she wanted just nothing to do. When the objectification gets so constant that you check out inside, that's when you know something is very wrong. In recent years, Megan has gone from being the poster girl for male gaze to being a vocal critic of the system that put her there. She's acknowledged she was out and in front of the #MeToo movement before most people were ready to listen. She said she spoke out against abusive, misogynistic, patriarchal things in Hollywood all the way back in 2008 to 2009. And she said what she heard in response was basically, "Oh well, F you. We don't care, you deserve it." She didn't mince words. She didn't couch it. She knew things were off. She spoke up anyway. Now here's where things get even more revealing. She recently turned the lens directly onto Hollywood men and their role in this ecosystem. She's blunt about what she calls the emotional toll of being around certain men, the way power dynamics get warped when men are revered for being predators or control freaks, and the way women pay for that with their bodies, their mental health, and their careers. Megan said that for years she carried the weight of men's sins. "My body aches from carrying the weight of their sins," she wrote in her poetry collection. She made it clear the men didn't just exploit the system exploited women, and men were its enforcers, willingly or not. When you hear that, you might think, well, isn't that just what Hollywood is? But it's deeper than that. She isn't just talking about bad producers or creepy execs. She's talking about a culture that rewarded men for offense, tolerated their misconduct, and silenced women. The fact that this is coming from someone who is marginalized not for speaking up, but for being too visible and too sexualized, makes it all the more potent. She's saying men got away with it for years, and their behavior helped shape entire careers, including hers. What's especially chilling is how she frames the reaction when she did try to rebel against that system. She said she was ridiculed, blacklisted, dismissed. Other women turned away from her. She questioned why the feminist community didn't always include her. She explained that the men she challenged avoided consequences. She laid bare the bias. When a woman speaks out, she becomes difficult, trouble, career risk. When a man behaves badly, he gets a handshake and another deal. She watched it happen, she lived it. And now, when she points a finger at Hollywood men, it's not just finger pointing for drama. It's a reckoning. It's an unveiling of a power structure built on silencing women, on prioritizing male comfort, and on turning talent into a commodity. Her voice isn't the beginning of the story, but it might be the turning point. Because by stating so candidly that the men around her played a massive role in her trauma, she's asking the industry and viewers alike to rethink how we have been passively accepting certain behavior for decades. The implications are bigger than just Hollywood. This is about who gets to control the narrative, how women's bodies are used in media, how power dynamics stay unchanged. When Megan says men will drain you, or speaks of a culture where she felt her autonomy was sacrificed to keep some male's fantasy intact, she's not using hyperbole. She's naming what she experienced. And when someone of her visibility does that, it forces a conversation. Are we still okay with how power and gender interrelate in entertainment? Are we still fine with women being the backdrop to men's stories, off camera as much as on? It also shines a light on the men who have been unaffected by this reckoning. Some thrive in it. Some remain unchanged. The ones who did the work quietly maybe got ahead. The ones who refused to speak paid no price. Meanwhile, women like Megan were, and in many cases still are, punished for simply stating the obvious. When she said she felt rejected by feminists because she wasn't the sympathetic victim they expected, that revealed something. The frameworks built to protect women often demand a certain narrative. If you don't fit it, you get cast out. So what does it mean for the future? Megan's revelation isn't just a personal confession. It's a flashing sign for change. It shows that you can't put a pretty face on something and pretend everything's fine. It demands accountability. It demands that the men in charge stop operating in silence. It demands that the system that rewarded them starts facing scrutiny. And for viewers, it invites us to see beyond the gleaming premiere lights and consider who got hurt behind them, who stayed silent, and who paid the price for the image we consumed. In the end, Megan Fox's statement that the men she worked with, the men who shaped her career, the culture that surrounded her, have left a mark, is more than a headline. It's a challenge. It's a question. Are we willing to keep consuming the same narrative of men in power and women as props? Or will we listen when someone like Megan says enough is enough? So next time you watch a blockbuster, or flip through a glossy magazine cover, or tune into the Oscars red carpet, remember there are stories you don't see. And when a woman who is part of the machinery says she felt drained, used, silenced, you might just pause and realize that behind the glamour, something more dangerous was whispered, hidden, and now revealed. If you've made it this far, thank you. If this story sticks with you, hit like, drop a comment below. What surprised you most about Megan's revelation? Do you think the industry is changing? And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe because we're exploring these untold stories and shining a light behind the scenes. Until next time.